On KGW News, cleaning up from the windy weather, the damage from around the area, and what's ahead for the week. Plus, dangerous goals.
And instead of realizing their dreams, it crashed on them.
University of Oregon athletes say the school's track and field program drove them to eating disorders. Then, rounding up street racers in Portland. And later, kids and the COVID vaccine.
And I think this is another tool to keeping kids safe and healthy.
A local pediatrician's advice for worried parents. Your news starts now. And first up, we have new video showing more of the damage homeowners are dealing with tonight after this weekend's storm. Take a look at that. That large tree fell on top of a home in Milwaukee. This is on Southeast Addy Street near McLaughlin. There are no reports of injuries, but significant damage, as you might imagine, to the house, which we're told is more than 100 years old. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Laurel Porter. From downed trees to choppy coastal waves, it's no denying thousands felt the impact of the storm. Another tree fell right on top of a car in Milwaukee. This was on Oatfield Road. No one was hurt there, but the wind and downed trees knocked out power to tens of thousands yesterday. But overall, about a dozen Portland area tree services we spoke with today said the damage wasn't as bad as they expected. One of the bigger issues now is cleaning leaves from storm drains to make sure they don't flood streets. In Seaside today, dozens of people got a closer look at the waves as we saw the tail end of this historic storm move away. The coast saw heavy rain and extremely windy conditions this weekend. Many out-of-state visitors had never experienced a storm like that.
It's been crazy. Yeah, the wind shook the area that we were staying at. I checked, it was 30 miles per hour.
Oh, it's like a whiteout. We were able to, like she said, we were at the store, and all of a sudden I just looked outside, and when I just heard it pounded on the roof, and it just looked outside and it looked as if it was snowing.
Despite the heavy winds, there have been no reports of major damage on the coast. For more on this past weekend's bomb cyclone and what's ahead, let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino in the Weather Center. Matt?
Hey, Laurel. Yeah, the bomb cyclone has been detonated. It is weakening, moving away, and we're pretty much done with it, but it sure was an impressive storm. You can see the circulation center there all wound up around itself, as these really intense cyclones will do. What is a bomb cyclone? Well, the verbiage has been in the meteorological vocabulary for decades, really, but it became popular a couple years ago in bombogenesis, which is the genesis or formation of a bomb cyclone. Just means that it has experienced explosive or rapid intensification, and in fact, it's quantified. It's got to fall the pressure 24 millibars in 24 hours. Millibar is simply a measure of unit of pressure itself. Saturday's storm dropped to record low pressure for the northeastern Pacific Ocean, 942 millibars. That's almost as strong as Hurricane Sandy several years ago back on the East Coast. And the wind gusts, 86 miles an hour on the Long Beach Peninsula, 82 miles an hour in Newport. So it was intense. There are differences between hurricanes and bomb cyclones. They're not exactly the same storms. Hurricanes are warm storms. They derive their energy from the warm ocean water, and our storms derive their energy mainly from the jet stream. Now what's coming up, that storm's moved inland into BC. There's another frontal system coming our way for more rain. A lot of rain this week, but nothing as intense as what we had this weekend. And some good news for Halloween. Laurel?
Can't wait to hear about that. Thank you, Matt. A group of athletes is calling out the University of Oregon's track and field program for unhealthy practices. They say how the team monitors weight and body fat among athletes has led to physical and mental health struggles. Catherine Cook talked with a writer who broke the story.
I didn't really seek this out. I mean, I was retired, right? I didn't plan to spend 2 months working on a story.
Sports writer Ken Go says the story he couldn't ignore started last summer with emails he got from 6 female track and field athletes. All of them competed at the University of Oregon, and all of them left, 5 with eligibility remaining.
They had some concerns about what Coach Johnson was doing with the program.
Robert Johnson, head track and field and cross-country coach at Oregon since 2012. He has multiple national titles under his belt. But when it comes to athletes' health, Go reported in the Oregonian, the women felt devalued. They also felt at risk for eating disorders. They blamed the program's data-driven approach to their weight and body fat percentages. 3 times a year, all track athletes are required to undergo a DEXA scan. It uses X-ray technology to measure bone density and body fat percentage. Athletes who didn't meet certain standards were assigned extra cardio workouts. Some say they were told they couldn't travel to away meets if they didn't lower their body fat percentage. Athletes told Go it led to eating disorders, emotional distress, body dysmorphia, and nightmares.
And instead of realizing their dreams, it crashed on them. And they're in their room at night counting calories or binging or just feeling bad about themselves because they're not at a certain body fat percentage. Well, then you start to feel like, well, they need a voice, right?
Go says all 6 athletes asked to remain anonymous. He says they're scared of being ostracized by longtime Oregon sponsor Nike or being banned from the world's biggest track meets, most hosted by the University of Oregon.
And so for these women to come forward, even anonymously, and speak out in this situation, I think is remarkable because they're taking a risk.
It's a risk many are applauding at a critical time in the sport. This month, former Nike distance runner Mary Cain filed a $20 million lawsuit against Nike and former coach and Oregon star Alberto Salazar. She's claiming emotional abuse, including fat shaming that led to an eating disorder. Cain's attorney shared her thoughts on what she believes is an industry-wide problem.
These athletes who have been abused and neglected have the strongest drive and commitment to themselves that I've ever seen, and then it gets exploited.
In response to Go's article, a university spokesperson tells KGW, the health and safety of our student athletes is always our top priority, and there are many sports performance professionals on our staff that work closely in supporting student athletes, including our medical team, athletic trainers, sports scientists, and nutritionists. Go says he's hearing from athletes with similar stories from multiple schools. He hopes his work will help make a difference, starting at Oregon.
I don't necessarily think that Robert Johnson's a bad person. I think he's doing the best he can do. He's paid to win meets and produce national champions. I think he probably should approach this a little differently in the future, and hopefully I think he will.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Now to an update on the police shooting in Happy Valley that left a man dead. A grand jury ruled that Clackamas County deputies were justified in using deadly force on 26-year-old Nathan Honeycutt back in late September. Deputies stopped Honeycutt after they saw the truck he was driving had no license plates. They tried to arrest him, but officers say he pulled out a gun. That's when they say a deputy shot him. Authorities tell us officers tried to save Honeycutt, but he died at the scene. And new at 11, Portland police arrested 8 people for street racing over the weekend. Along with help from Oregon State Police, they put several officers on the streets to stop people from racing and shutting down roads. This is video from one of the incidents along Northeast 12th Avenue in Gleason. Police say they got this group cleared in about 20 minutes. In addition to the arrests, 7 cars were towed and 19 people got tickets. Almost 2 months into the new school year, the state's weekly COVID testing program for students is still in the process of rolling out. At Portland Public Schools, district officials say the delay is due to supply chain issues. This video was taken at Whitman Elementary at the beginning of this month when the district started the testing program. At this point, about 3/4 of schools in the district still don't have test kits.
Some of our schools are ready, but because of the supply distribution issues, we are waiting until we get some of those, like labels, coolers. Some of those things have been ordered, they just haven't arrived yet for OHSU. So it's just a matter of supply and demand.
We reached out to OHSU, which is analyzing the tests. A spokesperson said their lab has plenty of capacity and they're not aware of any supply chain issues, aside from a shortage of labels that may have delayed schools by a few days at most, they said. The conversation around vaccinating kids against COVID-19 is ramping up tonight. The FDA could potentially give the green light to Pfizer's vaccine for children ages 5 to 11 tomorrow. This as Moderna just announced its COVID shot works for kids 6 to 11. KGW's Alma McCarty spoke with a local pediatrician about the conversations she's having with families.
Parents looking for reassurance and understanding bring their questions involving the COVID vaccine and their kids to experts like Dr. Malika Little, a pediatric clinical infectious disease specialist for Randall Children's Hospital.
I think there's a huge range that people are worried about. And really, to me, there's some positive in that, because what that means is everybody's thinking about their kids first. Right. So I partly chose to be a pediatrician because I think we take better care of our kids than we do of ourselves.
Since the beginning of the pandemic, pediatricians have fielded a lot of questions, and now even more so with the potential approval of the vaccine for even more kids just on the horizon.
It's pretty important we don't generalize it and say, hey, here's what other people are worried about, but really, what are you worried about in your kid? I mean, every kid is a little bit different. And for some parents, it's really basic, right? Their kid has a terrible time with flu shots, and they're just nervous for the actual vaccine. With some parents, it's a far more extended, gosh, this is new. I don't know if it's been out yet. I don't really want to be first.
Dr. Little says health experts across the board know much more than they did a year ago. What she's seen personally is encouraging.
I do feel very confident as an infectious disease specialist with the amount of disease that we're seeing, with the amount of experience we have had with these vaccines, and really based on the decades of time and intention people have put into these technologies, that these are incredibly important tools for us to have moving forward, and really are the secret to getting us back to having a normal childhood, which is what we want for all these kids.
Her advice for those families still cautious and curious: ask your family doctor or pediatrician and listen to well-informed experts working tirelessly to move everyone out of this pandemic.
Today, Moderna announced its vaccine is effective for kids ages 6 to 11. Researchers tested 2 shots, each containing half the dose given to adults. The company said vaccinated children developed antibodies similar to levels young adults produce after full-strength shots. Now, Moderna hasn't yet gotten the go-ahead from the FDA for anyone under 18. However, the FDA meets tomorrow to discuss authorizing emergency use for Pfizer shots for kids 5 to 11.
We should hear more then. Thank you, Alma.